From the campaign trail to his first day in office, Donald Trump bragged over and over again how he was going to unleash American energy and bring down costs on day one. Last Wednesday, he posted a super reasonable, very nuanced take on the need for clean, renewable energy. Just kidding. He crashed out and called it the scam of the century. While Trump's unhinged rants are par for the course at this point, the recent announcement by his Department of Agriculture is anything but normal. Last week, Secretary Brooke Rollins announced that her department would rescind all programs building solar panels on farmland, constraining energy supply, which will likely just further increase electricity prices. It's no secret to you or to me that electricity bills have already gone up for families all over the country thanks to Trump's policies. We all see it going up every month. But here's the bottom line. Democrats are the party of saving the environment and saving you money on your monthly bills. We support investments in clean energy, including wind power, solar power, and beyond, because the more energy we bring online, the lower your monthly rate. And while Republicans seem hell-bent on undoing this progress, Democrats at the state, local, and federal levels are throwing up roadblocks to stop Republicans' price hiking agenda. One Democrat that's leading the way and has been leading the way his whole career is Jay Inslee, the former governor of Washington State and the head of the Accountability Project at Climate Power. Today, we got a chance to talk to him about all things clean energy, a little bit of basketball, and how Democrats are leading and winning on climate. I'm Hannah Moldavan, Deputy Communications Director for the Democrats, and your host for today. It's Tuesday, August 26th, and this is the Democrats' Daily Blueprint. Governor Inslee, thank you so much for coming on the Daily Blueprint today.
Thank you. We believe in blueprints for progress. I'm glad we got some Democrats who believe in a brighter future.
Fantastic. Now, last week, J.D. Vance visited Atlanta as part of the Trump administration's latest attempt to rebrand the horrible budget bill, which we know that Americans hate. Now, Climate Power's new report shows that household electric bills are up 10% nationally since Trump took office, and that this bill that I love, you all refer to as the Republican rate hike, will saddle Americans with even more energy costs. So tell me, how is this a self-inflicted energy crisis by the Trump administration? And what can Americans expect in the coming months in terms of energy costs as a result of this Republican rate hike?
Well, listen, it's a beautiful morning, so I hate to rain on our parade of our beautiful nation. But unfortunately, Americans can look forward to higher electrical bills as a direct result of shooting ourselves in the foot with this ridiculously backward-looking effort to prevent Americans from getting cheaper and cleaner energy and electricity, and that's what it's done. And it's not a shock. All of the economists who evaluated this do believe that it's going to lead to higher electrical bills in the hundreds of dollars per family in the upcoming years. And the reason is not too shocking. You actually don't have to be an MIT economist to understand this. For this reason, look, the cheapest electricity in America today is clean energy. It's a blessing for us. So we're so technologically adept in this country. We've adopted technologies to give us cleaner electricity for cheaper prices, and that's primarily solar and wind energy and advanced battery storage. So these technologies in 95% of the places in America are cheaper than coal. So when you basically try to outlaw cheap electricity and incentivize more expensive electricity, which is coal, you're going to get higher electrical prices. And that's the fact that is happening already and will continue to happen. And by the way, it's not just this bill. Trump is on this manic, kind of homicidal rage against any clean energy. It's just nuts. So he's canceled wind projects, which would promise us cleaner energy in the Pacific Northwest and Idaho. He said he's not going to permit solar panels where we can put them up to give us cheaper electricity. So, if you want more expensive electrical bills, Donald Trump's your man. I'll tell you that.
And I don't know who can say they want that, although I know that most Americans, myself included, have seen energy bills go up. And the fact that you just said we can be better for the environment and it's cheaper, the logic just doesn't make sense there. It doesn't pass the sniff test for everybody out there. I
Well, it
want to
doesn't
talk
pass the
about
sniff test because it stinks. And it just, I mean, it really does. And the reason for it is this maniacal obsession with Trump against wind turbines and solar panels. Why would a guy develop such a hatred for such a benign project? Look, my view is we should not be making ideological decisions about energy. We should make practical, common sense decisions. And if you can get cheaper energy and cleaner at the same time, double point bonus, you might as well do it. And for some reason, Trump has developed this bloodlust against them. The only explanation I've heard is he didn't like looking at him somewhere on his golf course, or maybe he got scared by him when he was 5 years old. He saw a big wind turbine in Denmark or something, and got scared of him.
I was
It,
gonna
it
ask
just
you why he felt this way, but
it,
there's no answer.
well, there is one additional answer, is that his corporate buddies who have financed his campaigns are all in the dirty side of the business, in the coal industry and other fossil fuels. And so he's taking care of his cronies who have financed his campaigns and are his golfing buddies, I suppose. But it's making us pay the piper, and it's just unfair to working families. And look, when we can get people cheaper energy, they love it. I always think of this woman I met who got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pick apples in Toppenish, Washington. And because of some state policies, we were able to get her solar panels on her roof. And now she says she looks forward to her utility bills every month because frequently they're like zero. She says it's like Christmas in August. And I think of a retired woman in Vancouver. We got her heat pumps. Now her heating bills went like cut in half. Those are good days. It's a bad day when Donald Trump forces you to pay more for electricity, which is what he's doing.
Absolutely. I want to talk about one other stat that this Climate Power report showed, which was that 56% of lost or stalled clean energy sector jobs are located in the congressional districts represented by Republicans in Congress. So, what would you say to people in these red states dealing with the consequences of all of the Trump attacks on clean energy and the environment? And especially those who believed in Trump's promise to restore American energy dominance.
Well, what I would say is he's so full of baloney when he talks about energy dominance. Look, if he wants energy dominance, if he wants America to excel and dominate the world economy, why would you possibly take the stars on your team and sit them on the bench? You know, you got like Michael Jordan and LeBron James of the energy world, which is solar and wind, and Steph Curry in advanced battery, and you put him on the bench, is what he's done on all these new sources of clean energy. So it's almost like he took our best basketball players and wouldn't let them play in the Olympics. If you want to dominate the
I
world
was going to say Steve
economy,
Kerr would never do that.
no, he would not play with them for the Trump team. Uh, but if you want to be dominant, you put in your best team. And right now, these technologies are cheapest, more effective. And by the way, they can also be brought online faster. Look, we need huge amounts of electricity in the United States, driven by growth in our economy, but also by data centers that are needed for our new, tech companies. So we have a huge, very, very short-term need for massive amounts of electricity. And you can bring in renewable energy sources, like 4 times faster than you can building a whole new coal plant and figure out the transmission lines for it. So it really is a short-term response for a short-term need at lesser cost. So yes, we want to dominate both the Olympics and clean energy. And unfortunately, what Trump is doing is giving these markets to China. I mean, he's shipping these jobs that could be in Georgia and North Carolina and Washington State, and he's shipping them to China because he's allowing them to become a dominant player in some of these emerging industries. It really is sort of anti-American and very small-minded.
Yeah, we've talked about the facts. I believe you. The facts are with us and not and against Trump. But now let's move to sort of how you hold him accountable. So in April, Climate Power announced the launch of the Accountability Project. That's a new war room holding Trump and Republicans accountable for this. What has the work of the Accountability Project been like so far? So, holding Trump accountable for this stuff, for this backwards way of thinking in every way. And, as Congress comes back into session, they've been getting yelled at. Republicans have been getting yelled at by their constituents in this August recess. What are your priorities and what should we be focusing on and pushing them on when it comes to climate and energy?
Well, when you have, I'm an old trial lawyer, right? And one of the sayings is, uh, when you got a strong case and the facts on your side, just present the facts to the jury. When you don't have facts, just pound the table. But we actually aren't just pounding the table, we're just presenting facts to people so that they can make informed decisions. And we're doing that on podcasts and social media and interactive media, all we can, as well as traditional media, to give people the facts of what is going on. Now, it's really important, too, that this accountability extends not just to Donald Trump, but to his minions, to the people who are doing his work at his bidding. The order of command and control in our country is now Putin makes the decisions, he tells Trump what to do, and then Trump tells his members in Congress what to do, and they do exactly what he tells them to do. So we think this accountability needs to extend to his minions as well in the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, and importantly, in state legislative bodies, because this is a place, frankly, where we can actually make progress right now, and that's an important point too. We want to keep people's uh, um, hopes up, and we have the opportunity to advance the clean energy mission statement in states right now, even with a recalcitrant Congress. So we try to remind people that in state legislative races, those are important. Governor's races, very important as well. And just sharing these facts sells itself on what we need to do. We need to get people who believe in economic growth, who believe in entrepreneurship and believe in skilled American workers and believe in lower electrical bills. And that's the kind of people that we want to make sure they know what the facts are.
Yeah, and I think we've seen how important state legislators are right now in this redistricting fight between Texas and California. It's been a lot of our leaders in the state that are standing up to what we see as some of the baloney in Washington and from Trump and Republicans.
Yeah,
Now,
this attack on democracy is multifaceted. It's in the gerrymandering out of Texas. It's in Trump's assault on mail-in voting, which, has been super successful in my state and other places. It's raised voting participation in not insignificant amounts. I'm glad to be a Democrat because we're standing up for democracy. And that's a pretty noble quest right now. So, yeah, state legislators, very, very important folks right now.
absolutely. And, Governor, I've followed your career, whether it was in Congress, to the governor of Washington. You focused on tackling the climate crisis throughout all of that time. And I'm curious why this is so important to you and why you dedicated so much of your career to this issue.
Well, a couple reasons. One, I actually believe it's probably the strongest way to build your economy is by developing these clean energy jobs and getting Americans cheaper electricity and cleaner electricity at the same time. So this is kind of what I think of as a no-brainer. I majored in economics. I'm not an economic, professional, but I have some sense that a community that seizes the future economically is going to do well. And this is perhaps one of, if not the best way to build economic growth is by seizing the next horizon. America has always done well, and my state of Washington has always done well when we were grabbing a dominance in new technologies. We did that in jet technology when we had the Boeing 707, first successful commercial jet airliner. We did it with Microsoft and software, and it's true for America as well. So this is the next big thing economically is to have this transition to a clean energy economy. And that is, I think, an incredible engine for growth. That's what I believe in. That's number one. But number two, when I look what is going on right now, it's so disturbing to see what climate change is doing to our beautiful country. And I just, I have 6 grandkids, and I want to leave a place for them to live that is healthy. And unfortunately, right now, we are suffering the pangs. We have We have heat deaths. We had 2 heat deaths, I believe, in Spokane yesterday because of hot temperatures. We have melting glaciers. We've lost 40% of our glacial ice on Mount Rainier. We have an extension of viruses. This morning, I just read about the expansion of viruses that are going on, dengue fever and other, because mosquitoes are moving around. We're losing salmon in our waters because essentially the water literally is too hot for salmon to survive. Think about that. In our rivers in Washington State, a northern tier community, it's too hot. We have this flash flooding events, which are just horrendous. I talked to a woman in Wisconsin, whose neighbors are all flooded. They had like something like 15 inches of rain in 24 hours. And we know that's happening because as the air heats up, it can hold more water, and all of a sudden, boom, you got a big cloud burst. That's happening all over the world right now. So we are being hammered by climate change, and all we're getting for Donald Trump is sticking his head in the sand and his tail feathers in the air like an ostrich and trying to ignore climate change. And this decision to try to eliminate the endangerment finding, where basically the Secretary of Energy is trying to say climate change is good for you, which is nuts. Tell that to the people whose houses have been flooded. I talked to a family up in northern Washington. In 2 years, they just got done rebuilding their home, and the next week, another flood came right through their picture window. Tell them that climate change is good for them. So this is a full-scale effort. It's something I believe passionately about, and fortunately, we can solve this problem. We got the technology to do it. That's the good news here. And solar energy is coming on like gangbusters. I encourage people to look at a book by Bill McKibben, who has just got a new book up about the success of the solar industry. And the most interesting comment from him is it took us 40 years to build the first terawatt of solar energy. But it only took us 2 years to build the next terawatt. It only took us 1 year to build the third terawatt. So we have the expansion of these new systems of clean energy that are so with us today. We don't have to wait 20 years. We're not talking about the future. We're talking about the present. We have the ability to solve this problem. We have the ability to put Americans to work, and we have the ability to get cleaner electricity if we'll just use our heads rather than the obsessions, the weird, bizarre obsessions of Donald Trump and his cult. So there's a lot of good news out there.
Well, Governor, I now have a new book to read. That's next on my list after I finish my book I'm currently reading. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. Thank you for talking to us about it, delivering the facts, which I think make me feel empowered to go and talk about this issue. And we'll stay in touch and keep following what you're doing. Thanks for joining us on
I
the
hope
Daily
so. Be
Blueprint.
active. It's a good time to be. It's a good time to be alive because we can solve this problem. We all can do something about it. We can all find a candidate to go out there and support, starting like today, to make sure we get people that can lead this revolution.
Incredible. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.